Some people can knee jerk react to you being some kind of zealot for men and men's rights, but the fact of the matter is, you take a very balanced approach to this, and really it's a call to action for men to step up and do what men need to do. But you also recognize that men need to get some credit, I think, for where they don't get credit all the time. And you say that there is a crisis of education regarding our young men and boys in America, around the world, really. What do you mean by that?
Yes, in all 56 of the largest developed nations, boys are falling behind girls in every academic subject on average, but especially in reading and writing. And it doesn't take too much imagination to figure out reading and writing are the single biggest predictors of success or failure. And so boys are, and the United States in particular, are much more likely than girls to drop out of high school. And when a boy drops out of high school, he's not just dropping out of high school. He's dropping out of a sense of purpose. He's dropping out of his testosterone, not having a place to channel constructive and positive energy. And so as early as in the 20s, even before COVID, when the unemployment rate in the United States was 3.8%, the unemployment rate for boys was on average, if they dropped out of high school, more than 20%. And so this is 20% of boys, the ones that dropped out of high school, that is, that are set up for a very potentially destructive channeling of their energy. And when you see boys in prison, you see boys who are very highly likely to drop out of high school. But also, I discovered that all around the world, with all the areas where the boys were having problems, the common denominator was a minimal amount of father involvement, or what I called dad deprivation. Either they didn't know their father, the father had left at an early age, or the father was very minimally or not at all involved with the family. And so that and that was very different from what I started out with when I submitted the book proposal to the publisher. I had 10 causes of the boy crisis that I outlined, and with this idea of having 10 parts of it about each cause, and ended up finding that the lack of father involvement was by far, in a way, what I would call the hub cause.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think about this as kind of an auto-exacerbating situation. In other words, it's a situation that makes itself worse, because as the young men are affected disproportionately and drop out, and then it compounds their place in the world, then they become less involved fathers. And as they become less involved fathers, then that trickles down to their children, and a generational legacy is set in place. And so that creates a problem with their children, who then become less involved. And that's what I mean by it makes itself worse. And we really have to stop that, because your second point is it's a crisis of fathering. You say boys are growing up with less involved fathers and are more likely to drop out of school, do drugs, become delinquent, and end up in prison. So this having a father there as a role model and a guide to set boundaries and structure is very important, not just academically, but societally as well.
Absolutely, on every level. We're all in the same family boat, and when only one sex wins, both sexes lose. Women do not like dating losers. They do not like dating purposeless people. They don't like marrying them, and they especially don't want them to marry them to be a father. And so, when we work on boys' problems and we understand what is challenging boys, we are working for girls as well, and we're working for all of us as parents who want to see our daughters happy with a boy that's worthy of their love. And so, when we focus only on one gender, we're really doing both genders a really major disservice.